Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So I wanted to do this live video to talk about Bunny Buddies project, have a look at how the project's gone so far. So taking a little look back at pre-mint, the mint, and the AMA that happened in the Discord, and basically what's happening now and what's happening later today. So in 2 hours, there is going to be another AMA in Twitter Spaces. So hopefully some interesting information. And if you're interested in the project, probably worth jumping in as well. So Bunny Buddies, if you haven't heard of it, is probably one of those super hyped projects, really large Discord, really large Twitter. I think the art is amazing, with a doxed artist with a track record. The art, I believe, has been used in a lot of videos, for music videos and things like that, but the art really attracted me to this in the first place. I was lucky enough to get a whitelist and mint a couple, and then there's been some challenges. So let's just go over what's happened. As always, never financial advice, not at all. This is analysis, not advice. So let's take a bit of a dive into the project. As always, these talks are, the inspiration for me starting to do these was Gary V, who got me into NFTs a few months ago by seeing him speak. Apologies if you can hear the dog moaning, but yeah, that's the beauty of a greyhound. And very much inspired by the Nifty Alpha. We hope to be as good as they are at some point. So the content we do is about project review, tips and tricks, onboarding and AMAs. This is obviously a project review, with the aim of helping people get into this space safer, really, and trying to stop some of the bad projects, or stop people getting into the bad projects, which should stop them, and shine a light on some decent projects as well. So let's talk about Bunny Buddies. So I always talk about this DYOR stuff. So pre-mint, what could you do? Just to have a look and talk through some of the things that I looked at. The Twitter has 103,000 followers. They have some decent partnerships with some blue chip companies, and some blue chip NFTs, and they have pretty decent engagement. But the Twitter was only created in January 2022. So just having a look at the Twitter here, like I say, 103K followers. I always have a look at the followed by as well. So, 140 odd people I know. So yeah, some I know, some I don't know in that massive number. Lots of tweets. I'll come back to that. Lots of tweets and really, some good engagement, as you'd expect with those numbers. But I suppose the only sort of flag would be the age, so only a new Twitter account. That's not a terminal thing, but, a little bit worrying. And like you can see, partnership with Sekira, officially verified on Twitter. Partnership with Pixelmon. Some may say that's terrible, but Easy Eats is quite bullish on that project. So who knows? Who knows? Could be good, could be bad. Artist Doxed, well-known artist in the space, Rabbits. He doxed shortly before mint. So yeah, lots of partnerships, lots of engagement, lots of people on the Twitter. Just quite a new Twitter. So who knows, that's a bit of a tiny worry. But like I say, I really like the art. I think it's really, really good. And I know there have been some bad projects recently where the art has looked good pre-reveal and then turned to crap, but fundamentally it looks quite good. I don't know why I always do that same thing. So next thing I always look at is the website, and having a look at this website. You know, you've got good art, good artists, docs. I always tend to look for the roadmap, and on this, they've also got LinkedIn profiles linked to some of the project team, and they've also got some Instagram links. So Instagram, there have been a number of projects that have generated lots and lots of new interest in the NFT space by bringing in the Instagram people. So that could be a reason for the high numbers, but let's just have a little look at the website here. I suppose before I say that, I was going to say you've got Rabbit's Twitter here. And if you wanted to, you can see he works for a company called Yo British as an animator. And if you follow that one through, then there's a link tree that links to all sorts of things, including their YouTube account. Not a huge amount of videos on their YouTube account, but some serious views, you know, 2.5, 3.1, 6.7, 1.3, 2.5. So, you know, again, kind of meeting where all these people coming from. So maybe making that flag amber rather than anything else. Website itself, I always like to look at the quality. I think this website is a decent quality, very good looking. The art is very good looking. Lots of details on here. How you join the project, links, about the artists, about the team. You know, I'm always super bullish to see LinkedIn profiles, fully doxed team. These guys, the co-founders, are sort of Canadian business people. So not necessarily a Web3 native team, but really, really good. Some information about some of the legendaries, which is nice. So there's 15 legendaries. The roadmap, you know, roadmaps are what roadmaps are, but I'll pull, you know, obviously the mint, then merchandising. I can see this stuff looking really, really good on some decent merch. Some legendary bunnies, the artist donating 50,000 to a mental health charity as part of this project. Really interesting piece here, and I'll come back to this. The Bunny Buddies in the metaverse with events and games. Then talking about a second drop. So the carrots that you can get airdropped, and then obviously whatever comes next, really. So decent website, you know, in terms of what I would look for. I think it's well designed, and I think the art looks good, and I think it's got some positive ticks, really. Nothing I would say is negative in there, but you know, that's just when I was looking at it. So Discord, huge. I think when I started looking at it, there was about 120k, and that's gone right up to 301k now, where we're about 3 or 4 days post mint. So it's been increasing all the way. Setup looks really good. You know, it's not just this half-assed Discord that's been set up in a second. They've got good sections. They got lots of different languages, plenty of mods, very, very active, as you'd expect when people were trying to get whitelist and stuff like that. You know, but that can mask a lot of real things. And again, quite a new Discord, but you know, it's a new Twitter account, a new Discord. So again, partial flags there, you know. Obviously there's loads of bots, as there always is, and I know they did have a cull of bots. But even so, for a project of 888 NFTs, 301k, even if that's like 70% bots, you've still got 90,000 people in there. So plenty of interest in this project. They've also got Instagram and they've got YouTube channels. So that's all good. And the project details. So we're talking about the stuff, the research to do before mint. So it ended up being a 0.25 mint and 888 NFTs. The reason I put a star by that is it was talked about being a 0.4 mint, but Discord reacted badly to that, so they put it to 0.25 in there. So expensive mint, really, you know, but same as Invisible Friends. But yeah, expensive mint, but really good quality art, I think. So kind of justifies that mint price. I think 0.4 would have been wrong. 15 unique bunnies, as I've said before, and there was a 2-hour whitelist window. And again, I put star by this because I think that started off as something like 10 minutes. And again, the Discord was like, this is wrong. So the project team changed it, made it 2 hours. I think most people would probably still like longer than 2 hours, you know, even a 24-hour window for people to mint. But the team in their spaces before mint were quite open and honest in the sense that they said, we really want to sell this project out fast for the holders and for ourselves, you know, as a marketing thing. So, you know, don't necessarily agree with it. Not necessarily because the gas is expensive, because they optimize the gas really well, but it's the impact on the wider network, really, that, you know, forcing a lot of mints into that space probably had an impact on the wider network. So overall, pre-mint, you know, my gut feel, which I always say is the most important part of doing your own research, is it was a super hyped project. I liked the art and I liked the team and the fact that they're doxed. It was quite clear they're probably not Web3 native, but, you know, there's a lot to be said for strong business people versus maybe some of the more traditional projects of a dev and an artist who do know Web3 but don't know business. So, and again, that's pretty important for what I feel about the project. And I did think there were, you know, obviously you never know about the numbers, how many are botted, how many are not real kind of things. But nonetheless, the numbers still looked good for what it was. So overall, I thought it was a pretty solid project, and I thought it had real good chances. Yeah, it's fair to say there was a little bit of FUD around pre-mint kind of thing. You know, I guess, you know, there've been some fairly big projects with similar good-looking art that have actually post-reveal looked like dog turds, really, at the end of the day. And also there have been some rugs. So, you know, it's to be expected. And I think a level of FUD is always going to come when you've got a really high number of people wanting in and a relatively small number of NFTs. So there were quite a few people that were feeling that FUD, and people I respect as well. But, you know, I got the whitelist and I was lucky enough. So overall, looking at it, there wasn't enough to put me off. I thought the team was good. I think the team is good. And overall, I think I thought it was a great project, a wonderful project. So just going on now, for those of you that know about this project, you'll understand probably important to look at the mint and the subsequent Ask Me Anything in Discord. So there was that meeting set up. So let's talk about the mint. What happened with the mint? So first problem that surfaced was, rightly so, these projects, they partner with other projects. And as a result of that, they give some NFTs to those projects. These were actually minted first, which I don't necessarily have a problem with that at all. That makes sense. Mint them before they're sold out. But they were also distributed first. And whether that's right or wrong, what actually happened was a lot of these were listed before the whitelist even started to mint. So that didn't go down too well. And they weren't listing particularly high. So the bar was already set quite low. But, hindsight's a wonderful thing and all that lot. There were a couple of early contract issues, I believe, where non-whitelist people could mint, or people could mint more than they were supposed to, the two on whitelist, but they were caught very early. As I said before, the gas was super cheap on this, like 0.01 for a couple, even right at the start. And they sold out in 20 to 25 minutes. And probably the biggest problem that happened, which created a huge amount of FUD, was straight after the mint, the money came out of the project and was transferred to fiat by them. And obviously in the NFT space, that's not a good look, and it sets FUD running, and people are like, hold on a minute, are they just going to totally rug pull us? And obviously that was, a lot of the sentiment that was going on. So what actually happened as a result of this, and I have huge respect for them for doing this, I think within a couple of hours, they'd set up an AMA. And basically that AMA went on for 5 hours, probably 5.5 hours. And AMA being Ask Me Anything, but they literally did allow people to ask me anything. They stood up there and they basically said, we're staying here until everyone has asked their questions. Nothing is off limits. Come up and ask us. And we'll tell you everything about us, about the project. So they gave an introduction and explained what had happened. In terms of the withdrawal, they explained the giveaways, the contract issues, totally open and honest. And I was worried before this AMA. I left the AMA not worried, in fact, even more bullish about them. In terms of the withdrawal, they basically said that they're not ETH speculators. They're business people. They have invested money in this already. And they didn't want to be subject to fluctuations. And there was also some problems. Obviously, you'd understand there was the OpenSea hack, loosely called OpenSea hack, the phishing attack or whatever. There was some skepticism about that. And also they were being heavily attacked in the Discord by bots. So they were concerned about bots attacking and getting to the wallet as well, maybe, potentially. So basically they said that's why they did it. Hindsight being 2020 and all that lot, it was probably a bloody good idea to take the Ethereum out at that point, given what's happened in the last few days. And they have protected themselves against fluctuations, but it wasn't why they did it. My question to them, or my challenge to them in the AMA, was actually, well, being Web3 and all that lot, that kind of activity was always going to set people on the FUD train. You could have handled it a lot better in terms of front running that and explaining what you'd done. So not allowing that FUD to get, it only had a couple of hours before the AMA, but, really front running it. And their answer was pretty good, because basically their answer was, well, it wasn't necessarily something that was immediately planned, but the combination of all those things, including the bots attacking them and the OpenSea challenge, phishing attack, or whatever happened, made them do it. So they couldn't necessarily front run it, but, pays you money and takes your choice as to whether you trust them. I listened to the whole thing and I believed what they were saying. So one of the most bullish things they talked about in there was that they'd already invested 500k with a company called Bridgeverse, which is building a metaverse game for bunnies. And they also talked about other partnerships, so other blue chip NFTs that were also going to be a part of that, or were working with Bridgeverse, or were going to be part of the game. So they did also talk about the carrots as well. So people getting airdropped carrots. I think I'll come back to this in a second. I'm not sure the criteria is exactly set up, but they were talking about roughly 4 weeks. And again, that's not set in stone, but so bunny holders getting airdropped a carrot, which will either be a good or a bad carrot, and some form of mutation in there. We've seen it before with Bored Apes and stuff like that, and on-chain monkeys. Floor sweep was obviously talked about, because the impact on the floor straight away, instead of this running away, which I think it easily could have done, you were sitting a little bit under floor price. So it's sort of at its very worst. I think a couple of people dropped them at 0.15 at one point, but it's kind of sat around the 0.2 around about the 0.2 mark, slightly higher, slightly lower at points. So not the best start for a 0.25 mint. Obviously, people were saying, is this a rug? I was super bullish about, for a fact they're doxed anyway. They've owned companies in Canada. I don't believe this is a rug at all. That's one thing I don't believe. Who knows how the project goes, but certainly it's not a rug. They're not running away. They're building something here, something that could be really good. And they also teased that there would be some announcements coming over the next couple of days. So obviously that's really, really good in terms of, hey, there's some news coming. So yeah, at the end of that, my confidence personally was increased, and I've talked to a few other people, and I think theirs was as well. They sat there for 5.5 hours. Everything was answered. I was also really pleased that there wasn't a huge amount of really negative questions. So the community seemed to be quite positive. Yes, there were challenges, but there's challenges in every mint. I believe there were challenges in the Invisible Friends mint yesterday as well. And not being Web3 native as well, in their first project, you're going to have some challenges. Nothing was perfect, but actually they openly and honestly talked to people, and they answered questions, and they seem to be a real solid team with a lot of business experience. And like I said before, I'd really go with business experience. That's really important. You can learn more about the Web3 space. But yeah, so mistakes, but not Web3 native, and there are challenges in everything. And it's not about you know, not having challenges. It's about how you handle them. And overall, I thought at the AMA that was brilliant. So I left that, you know, a couple of days ago, very, very happy. So just to go on, final part really. So after the AMA, so, you know, 2 years in the NFT world, but 2 days in reality. I think they've dropped the ball on a couple more things, but easy to resolve things. So there's been a distinct lack of Twitter activity. And again, I think that relates to, you know, them being business people, and like 2 day of lack of activity in business is nothing. At a critical point in an NFT, I think it's important. But again, you know, that can be resolved so easily. The other problem for me is I think there's been one actual formal announcement in Discord, which was a summing up of the AMA and the key points. So if you do want to know more about that, drop in there and have a look. And I also think probably a bit of Discord naivety, because I've noticed there's been a few pinned tweets which don't really stand out. You know, if I'm looking in a Discord, I drop into the Discord, I look to see if there's announcements. Pinned tweets don't really stand out. And I think probably they've done a few pinned tweets that really should have been announcements. But yeah. And the other thing that struck me is like the mods are in there and they're really helpful, but they're not necessarily aware of what's going on. So they weren't able to answer everyone's real questions, you know, like where's the Twitter activity? Why is there no announcements? Blah, blah, blah. It was kind of like they're not necessarily connected enough with what's going on. But again, it's really early stages of a project. And those sorts of things are really easy to sort out. You can't teach building a good business and a good team. You can indefinitely learn how to do Twitter and Discord better in the NFT space. So I think possibly the lack of announcements relates to something that's going on in about an hour and a half, which is an AMA in Twitter Spaces. And again, I'm really happy that that's in Twitter Spaces. The fact it's in Twitter Spaces, you know, just means it's even more open. You don't just get the Discord people in there. You've got the wider audience. That's with Fanzo365. An apology, Fanzo365. That was the first I heard of you, which is, I'm sure you've never heard of me. So, but Fanzo365, I believe, has the biggest podcast in NFTs. So that's a really important thing. You know, it's going to bring eyes on the project. And I believe, I expect, my anticipation is that some of the stuff they were talking about announcing will probably get done in that AMA. So if you're interested in the project or you're in the project, I would severely suggest in an hour and a half you jump on that Twitter space. It is an AMA again, and I've been to a number of their spaces before Mint and their AMA in Discord as well, and they have literally stood there for a long time and taken every question. So if you're worried, come along, ask questions. I'm sure you'll get the opportunity. So yeah, obviously, depending on what gets announced, that could be really bullish for the project. The reveal of them is on the 28th of February, so still 4 days away in terms of reveal. But that's kind of understandable given the quality of the art and the level of check-in I would expect them to be putting in. You know, they are sort of 3D renders that are made into JPEGs. But I think, yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. That's going to be 7 days, basically. And obviously, there's what happens between a mint and a reveal will generally, you know, they're going to go up, and then depending on the reveal. There's often a pullback as people have some, non-rare ones. They don't get the legendaries. They'll drop them, try and get something rarer. But who knows? But the reveal, anyway, is 28th February. Carrots. So I've gleaned a little bit more information from Discord, but this isn't guaranteed. So hence the star. I think the carrot drop's probably going to be for delisted bunnies. So that'll be an incentive to reduce the number of listings. Although the price hasn't been great, the listings hasn't been high. I don't think it's broken 20% at any point. It's been about 1,000 probably out of 888. So not bad. I think it's come down a bit in the last day or so. And it has been mentioned that that would be 4 weeks from mint, but in no way can I say that's definite. That's just some comments. And I think that was kind of mentioned in the AMA, but it certainly wasn't, them putting a flagpole in the ground and guaranteeing that. But it'll be interesting, hopefully, in the AMA. Maybe I'll get up and ask a question. So the carrot drop is really interesting, obviously, because it means you can get some more value out of your existing NFT. And if they do it in 4 weeks, that's going to be super bullish and super quick. Like I say, the floor's been pretty weak for a great art project. Invisible Friends ran to 13 straight out of the gate. This has especially because the FUD came immediately after the mint and the withdrawal of the money. So obviously people panicked and they were listing. So the floor's been a bit weak, but it has held at around the 0.2. There have been periods where it's dropped a little bit lower. There have been periods where it's been a bit higher. But fundamentally, 20% down on floor price, at mint price on average. But kind of understandable with SoFi. There's been problems. And it'd be interesting to see what happens after the AMA and any information they give. So overall, my verdict, there's been problems. I think it's a really low entry point at some point in the future. This could easily be one, a bit like people talk about Bored Apes, could easily be one going, wow, they sat at the floor for so long and I looked at them. So it is a low entry point, but obviously there's always, as I said before, there's loads of risk. It's an NFT project. Less risk, I believe, because I genuinely believe this isn't a rug. I'm 99.9% sure this isn't a rug, or even closer to 100 actually, just because they're business people and that would reflect incredibly badly. The artist is doxed, just not a rug. Can't guarantee that means it's a successful project, but it's not a rug. So I'll go out on a limb and say that, and if I'm wrong, I'm badly wrong. Team is really still solid. The art is still solid. Do still think there's some things that they need to understand about Web3 and NFTs and things that are important like Discord and Twitter. And I'm really interested to know what is announced. If we get to know anything more about the Bridgeverse partnership and the Metaverse game, and maybe some people, who knows? It'd be really interesting to see the reveal and then what happens after the reveal. If the art all stands up good, I just think these are really, really nice. So overall, I'm super bullish about this project, even though it's not a great position right now. But I think it's a solid project, solid team, solid art. And who knows where it can go. And, it's not been without its challenges, but I think it's a good project overall, and a good entry point for people if you want to. Not financial advice. Do have a look at everything, you know, do your own research, get in the Discord, come to the AMA, ask difficult questions, really challenge them, because from what I've seen, they will answer. So yeah, that's it. I've forgotten everything. Oh God, I haven't even been looking. So just to answer some questions that come up, am I holding some? Yeah, absolutely. I minted some. So yes, definitely I am. Yeah, Joe, also definitely think they should communicate more on Twitter. What would I recommend? Hold or sell? Oh, that's a big question. With the war upcoming, who knows about that? But my personal feeling at the moment, I would be holding and seeing what's happening tonight. See what happens at the actual AMA. I still think it's a strong project. I just think it's in a weak position at the moment, but doesn't take much to change that position. You know, really good person they're holding the AMA with. Yeah, AMA. So AMA, yeah, is in 1 hour and 24 minutes on Twitter. So jump in there. So Twitter Spaces it's on. But yeah, personally, I still think it's a hold. And as always, I would say keep your eyes on what's going on, be in the Discord, listen to what's being announced, watch what the traffic is and the markets, have a look at icy tools and various things like that. Actually, I did tee this up in terms of like the price action, so you can kind of see where the price has been, you know, from a 0.27, it's been coming down and a little bit coming back up today. This isn't bang up to date, I don't think, but and you can see the kind of numbers. So obviously massive trading day one out of the gates, and then the FUD happened here, which has impacted volumes today reasonable thus far. I think I opened this quite a few hours ago, so the nifty.com. Yeah, so you know, I don't like to give people advice. I think the best advice is check what you think and do what makes sense to you. But 100%, I wouldn't be doing anything in the next hour and 25 minutes. I'd want to listen to that first, because I do believe where they are is at a low point. Is it the bottom? I don't know, but it's, you know, it's as low as you're probably going to see, but who knows. Anyway, if you like this video, please do, for a start, follow me on Twitter, Mr. Yellow 1899. Do hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell and get some notification, add any comments. There are links in the description down the bottom to the website, to the Twitter, to the Discord. Yeah, to the, I think the YouTube as well, I put in there. So do have a look and do your research, and yeah, have a look at some of our other videos in true top and bottom style there. One of our other videos, 3 NFTs under 0.1 Sol that could 10x. Have a look at that one. Shout out to the Rare Dom project and Nightbim and Spider-Verse. All good sort of cheap entry points if people can't afford 0.25 ETH mints, which I can't, but there you go. So yeah, hopefully that's been useful. It's a project I really like. I still like. I wish it hadn't had the challenges it had, but we are where we are. And like I say, I don't see many projects launching without challenges. I still think it's a super strong project and team. And I'm always more bullish about projects that can demonstrate that capability rather than a fly by night team stealth drop. May moon, but equally may rug you. Like I say, my most confident thing I can say about this is I do not believe it to be a rug, and I'm very confident of that. And that's really important in this space. And they're doxed, and that's important as well. So, okay, hopefully that's been a good video. Hopefully that's been useful. Do not take this as financial advice. Take it as analysis and do your own research. And good luck to everyone out there in these tough times. Yeah, lots and lots of things going on outside this wonderful space of NFTs. All right, see you next time.